Hello, my patient and long-suffering colleagues. I'm sure you'll all agree with me when I say that it's about time we had a long and meaningful conversation about assessment. And I'm sure you're also hoping that someone from the education department is listening. We all know that we should be doing formative assessment during every lesson to check our learners' response to our teaching. We all know that summative assessment is carried out at the end of a section of work or at the end of a term to assess whether the children are ready to progress and where the areas of concern are. But the purpose of real and authentic assessment is being lost in the frantic need to keep allocating marks for work that now has to be taught simply for the purpose of assessment, instead of creating and building on meaningful knowledge. The real reason that we should be assessing is for gathering information about our learners and their progress, so that teaching can be more meaningful. It's a gradual process of gathering information that we should be able to use to improve the learning capability of each learner in our care. Assessment should be a part of our teaching and is not simply an end goal. When it is correctly carried through, assessment tells us about how the children are learning, but also about the way that we are teaching. It should be a way of helping children to learn and to think critically, a way for teachers to check on the progress of their learners, and a way for us as teachers to make choices about alternative teaching approaches. Instead, it seems that assessment has become a reason for teaching, so that we can fulfill curricular demands and fill in mark schedules. Our time in the classroom is spent simply preparing children for their assessments, and there is no time left for fun, for depth, or for those critical teaching moments that spark lively conversations and bring learners into the center of the learning circle. Teachers are exhausted because they lurch from one assessment to the next, and they have no time to critically evaluate their own teaching, reflect on their approaches, or enrich their resources. They are very close to running on empty. In South Africa, generalist primary school teachers have to assess formally across the range of subjects at an average of 2 major assessments per week. With 40 children in a class, that means 80 pieces of work have to be marked every week. All marking, of course, takes place after the school bell has rung at the end of the day, and after staff meetings, and after extramural activities. That's about 25 hours of overtime every week. Can this be what teaching and learning has been reduced to? We need to stop and ask ourselves this question. We need to ask ourselves whether we are really assessing the children's learning and our teaching, or are we just finding ways to complete the demands of a full curriculum and fill sheets with marks and comments that really say very little? We need to stop, because we owe it to our learners to give them the kinds of teachers that we wanted to be when we decided to become teachers and make the difference. We owe it to ourselves to remain passionate and dedicated, and to be filled with self-respect because we are doing our jobs well and loving what we are doing. And we owe it to the future of the world, because the young minds that we are busy shaping are going to be the leaders and decision makers in the very uncertain future. If we have not prepared them well by giving them the thinking skills that they are going to need, then something is not working, and we have to fix it now. And how are we going to fix it if it takes 5 years for a curriculum to change, and we have a very demanding curriculum? Are we completely powerless? No, of course we're not. I'm going to remind you that we are active agents of change and architects of knowledge. If the curriculum can't change, then we can. Let's find alternative ways of assessing meaningfully within the curriculum. Let's work in communities with our colleagues. Let's look at well-designed group work and collaborative learning. Let's look at self-assessment and the child's understanding of his or her own learning. Let's look at peer assessment and the development of critical capacity. Let's look at collaborating across subjects in our own schools and sites of practice so that learning becomes whole and meaningful. Let's remember assessment for learning instead of always having to choose assessment of learning. Let children make videos on their cell phones in which they summarize or explain concepts. Let them use technology appropriately instead of banning it from the classroom. We are living in a digital age. We need to acknowledge that and become a part of the fourth industrial revolution. Let learners have fun and explore the use of technology and learn much more than we could teach them. Let's really try to remember that the real reasons that we are assessing have got much more to do with learning than with passing or failing. Let's remember the children. When we become overbusy, as all teachers are, it's almost a given that we no longer have time for creative thinking and problem solving ourselves. We drown in the demands that are going to keep us doing the same things over and over again and then complaining because nothing changes. Let's make those changes ourselves. Let's do it for the children. Let's go to the web for answers. Let's find innovative and alternative approaches. Let's make it meaningful. Because only we will take less than 5 years to change. Let's do it. Take care of yourselves and stay safe. I'll see you again.